Hello, I'm Robert Crisman, and this is a story about a pool hall I hung out in way back in the day and a guy that I knew there. We called him Stevie Wonder. Not the Stevie Wonder, but Stevie Wonder. And that's the name of the story, Stevie Wonder. So, without further ado, like Prince said one time, parties are not meant to last. Guys who don't get the message are guys who die by the inch. Stevie Wonder partied all night at the Greenfelt Pool Hall in downtown Seattle. The night lasted a year and some change, and then fun times were over. The Felt was a stone hustler's paradise, man, just north of Pike Street on 4th. It was the baddest joint on the coast for a while, way back in the 60s, when people still thought that the future looked good. Seattle had never had anything like it, and will not again, as far as that goes. You hoofed up the stairs and stepped out, and there you were, in the Starship Enterprise rec room. No shit. A long, low, wide room, maybe 40 by 80, the walls white on white, with mirrors running the whole way around, except the front wall there, all windows, looking out over 4th. The rug was blood red where the cigarette burns hadn't smoked it. 18 pool tables, tourney-sized Brunswick, 9 in one row, 6 in another, and 3 in an alcove off to the left as you headed on back toward the can. The balcony there at the end of the alcove had action that sometimes made you forget about pool. 18 pool tables, plus one for snooker and another for billiards, both of those way in the back. By late 66, as I said, the place was the number one hotspot for pool on the coast. Top hustlers came from all over to lay down their money. Some walked out Cadillac rich, and some limped away in their socks. Some came and went, and some found a home. Always the money was flying. Fast Eddie Kelly, the national one-pocket king, came up from L.A. He gave the Felt's owner, Doug Tom, a ball in the break and danced home with 25 grand. Pool hustler's heaven. But more than that, it was home to anyone hustling bucks off the books. Burglars and boosters with hot shit to go had here and gone shops in the back. Pressed and dressed pimps took their rest and talked shop at all hours. Hoes would parade their way through before dawn to drop off the money and powder their noses. The candymen came with their baggies and treats. The hoes were good business, like just about everyone else in the mix. The place was all day and all night. 4 a.m. weekends, you'd have to wait an hour or two for a table, and maybe a third of the people around there had ever picked up a stick. Everyone came, rounders and square johns, and all the seekers and strays in the world. All colors made it, black, yellow, red, white, and brown. There were doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs. The mayor came through incognito one time to collar his bagman before he got stupid with Candy, the 6-foot-tall hooker, transgendered no less, who carried a strap-on and promised the bagman both heaven and hell and a place in her cage so long as the money held out. There were also the usual junkies and tweakers, the 12-year-old mutants from Kansas, and every runaway teeny-bop girlie that God ever made, and, natch, every hard dick their moms ever warned them about. Bent cops and straight cops and priests on the prowl made the scene. Also, the short eyes who worked at the post office days, who'd come in just to peek up the runaways' dresses. You might see your grandma run rack after rack on table 14 at 3 in the morning, then snatch the cash off the rail and jack up the bet. The vice cop she's hosing, down past case money, says fuck it and goes it on ass. She knocks him in, then heads to the can to refresh. He creeps out the door. It was a dance, man, no shit. All the folks there, the sharks and the marks, the pimps and the players, the hoes and their dope men, the burglars and bagmen, the hippies and squares, high-fiving, backslapping, jaw-jacking, juking and sipping and tipping and doping and toping and wheeling and dealing and reeling. The jukebox was Dyke and the Blazers, James Brown, Wilson Pickett, the Dells, Cannonball Adderley's Kick-Ass Quartet, the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, man, all day and all night for what seemed forever, amen. Come the wee hours, Wendell Hunter'd get down in the back by the box. He looked, danced, and sang like James Brown, with twists that made him new in the world. Had runaways doing a white-face supreme behind him, shaking that money and having a ball, miniskirts, beehives, and all. Party time, baby, that was the felt. And Stevie was right in the mix. He shot a good stick, mostly 9-ball in one pocket, the money games then. He won steady as Eddie, always had change in his pockets. What he'd do is, he'd hook some yokel, rack his ass up to 20 or 50 a pop, whatever the traffic would bear, and then knock his ass in. Stevie'd be stroking. Willie Moscone, Cicero Murphy, Jesus, the Buddha, you name the player. When Stevie was on, he could shoot with his Johnson and knock them all in. Not really, man. Just sometimes I like to jazz it a little for fun. And the rest of the story is stone fucking gospel, my lips to God's ear. And Stevie could shoot, never doubt it. He'd take a guy down for, say, $300, quick like a snake, bang, 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 bang. Whole lots of guys. We all used to wonder, how did he do it? Other guys up there with 6-inch long teeth, they all had to sneak up on tiptoe. For Stevie, the victims would float in like mallards, signs on their backs saying, "Pluck me and eat me for dinner." What we came up with was Stevie, nice friendly guy, unassuming, Some dude comes in, he wants to kill time, might even want to get down. But he sure doesn't want to get raped. And he's heard that the place is a predator's picnic. So he's looking around for the lions and tigers and bears, ready to break for the door at the first sudden move. And now here's this guy who looks like he works at the Texaco station, nice friendly guy, sort of low-key and hanging around killing time just like him. They get to talking, like, how about them dogs? And all that good stuff. Next thing you know, maybe Stevie says, hey, or the other guy says, you want to play some? Stevie says, sure, make it light on yourself. 3 hours later, the guy's stumbling around in the rain. He's shirtless and wondering what the fuck happened. Stevie put him to sleep is what happened. Keep money and you are a star in this world, and action keeps coming your way. Stevie stayed in with the players. They'd lounge and talk smack, then go blow some dope, hit the flicks 20 strong, and root for the man with no name. Then, out for the thick steaks at KC, conversation now salted with all the philosophy yabbity-yab, mostly on how the game goes, should be played, and like that. Whatever the game, it all starts with front. You got to look good. The players wore gaiters and shark skins and leathers and banlons, pimped high boy shirts, the wraparound cufflinks, the thick and thin socks in all weathers, the fly bonnaroos. Their hair, cut just so, looked like glass. Sartorial arbiters? Pimps, the men who ruled ladies. The players all wanted to look like they ruled. Except Stevie, it seemed, who looked like he worked at the Texaco station. But Stevie had bank, he had game, and he strode with the in-crowd. They'd blasé down Pike Street, cutting a swath like the young kings they were. Stevie's dick might get hard. He'd hook up with one of the runaway girlies, go freak in some no-tell, get back to the felt for the action, his one real true love. Party man, party. And then he went up to Alaska, the summer of love, 67. He worked on a boat and came back with $12,000. He got into town and came right to the felt, knocked a guy in for $400, took him 2 hours. Then Tommy McFarland sold him some acid, a welcome back Stevie that took him right over the moon. He didn't come down for the next 20 years. Actually, it wasn't the acid. That was just sort of a booster to bump him up into the ozone. After that, it was speed, Benzedrine, those little white crisscrosses, man. 2 for $1 and better than jets at getting you up in the sky. Speed, the hustler's quick fix. Speed keeps you wired, makes you think that you'll never get tired. Stevie lived at the Felt now, wouldn't go home to eat, sleep, or shit. And his game got good, just like before, but with one big-time difference. The way it would go, he'd knock a guy in and then wait for the next guy, sucking those bennies. 2 days, 3 days, a month and a half, didn't matter. You know how it goes with the speed. You're cool for a while, but then you come down and shit changes up. Then doesn't matter. You can bang all the speed in the world. You stay on the table, you're toast. Which is what happened. The next guy'd show up, and Stevie's right there, but it's been like 3 days, and he's not worth a fuck. Guy knocks him in like he's blind, which, by this time, he is. Now he's flat broke. He's got to go home, maybe crash, and pick up more money. 2 or 3 days, he comes back. Same fucking music. You'd think he'd have learned, but, you know, what it was really, I think, was Stevie. He had to do that. Like a dope fiend has to blast dope. He had all this money he got off the boat and nothing really to do. No job, no old lady to take up his time and help spend his money, and so he was out there just floating around. Even then, though, you got to do something. For him, it was wait for the next guy. Week after week through the whole goddamn fall and on into winter, guys would come up and they'd get in line now, counting the days. Okay, let's see. He came in on a Tuesday. It's Saturday, right? He's toward the floor. Let's bend him over. And then they'd draw straws. Winner broke luck. It was incredible, man. And then to top it, the Felt went tits up in the space of 2 weeks. Early November. The manager, Slim, went and fucked it all up with a $2 cover. A cover to get into a pool hall? The place fucking dive-bombed. All the squares drifted, then most of the players, and soon just the Felt rats were left. The rest went to Smokies or places out north. So now just the same fucking cannibals, right? And Stevie, of course. He couldn't have found his way out the door. But man, the action was gone. And Stevie, he really went nuts. This one time, he'd been there 6 days, loaded like dump trucks, itching and scratching and tearing his hair out, and every 5 minutes he's back in the can, and then he comes out, his eyes are like neon, and Jesus. Dude's like a fish on dry land, jaws working like yoink, 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 and Stevie's a stone fucking mess. He wanders on up to the desk, checks the billiard balls out. He's going to knock them around, something to do, till the next guy gets up there to take his last nickel. He goes to the table, starts screwing around by himself. You ever play billiards all by yourself? It's like watching the rain peeling paint off a house. Stevie stayed on that table alone for 24 hours and change. I was up there all right. I went out, came back in, then went home, ate some dinner, then went to bed. I got up and showered and shaved, ate some breakfast. Went downtown, bought a suit. Got married, divorced, and then shacked up again. She got the kid. I bought a dog. The fucking dog died of old age. I went back to the Felt, and Stevie was still on that table. His mouth's crusted over with white shit. There's holes in his cheeks where he gnawed them to ribbons. And Jesus, I could not believe it. He went back to the can and powered his billionth dime bag or whatever. He didn't come out. Hour or so later, what gives? Heart blew up maybe? He flew through the roof? Me and this guy went on back there. And there he was, in front of a mirror, asleep like a baby, stone cold dead to the world. Goddamnedest thing you ever saw in your life. His eyes are closed tight and he's snoring like chainsaws. His hair's all messed up like the wind's blowing 6 ways at once. Slim comes in and starts laughing, tells us don't wake him. He goes, gets some chalk, comes back and turns Stevie around, writes fool on his forehead in big old block letters. Then Frog walks him out of the bathroom. Stevie's still in a coma. Slim shakes him awake. They took off with your hat, man. Two dope fiends. Young white dudes. Gimps, man. They ain't got no teeth. They just went out, man. Go get 'em. Stevie's like, huh? Feeling around on the top of his head. He ain't got no hat. His fucking hat's gone. The pricks took his hat. What fucking hat? He never wore a hat in his life. He goes tearing on out, find these two toothless cocksuckers who boogied on off with his hat. Straight out to the street, 4th and Pike, dead in the middle of downtown Seattle, Saturday, high fucking noon. Millions of people all out there shopping, all the grandmas and teeny bops, right? And here is this wild man out on the sidewalk, hopping around like 600 monkeys with white shit slathered and caked on his lips, shock treatment hair, eyes like he came from some psych ward on Pluto, and fool on his forehead, big as a billboard. We're all in the window there watching. Slim's falling out. It's like the circus hit town. We hear screams, and then sirens, then copters, machine guns. Not really, but damn. We don't see Stevie again for 3 weeks. And then he came back. He'd run through his money. $12,000 in 3 months, and nothing to show but the holes in his cheeks. Also, bad timing, he started in banging the smack. That shit cost ducats, and his was all gone with the wind. The couple of times I saw him thereafter, he was all on his lips and begging for change. He didn't have too much to say. A couple of times I duked him some bills, and I know he was hitting the other guys up, and they'd slip him the odd 10 or 20. They hadn't picked up on it yet, his monkey and all, and it's hard to see how, but, well, Stevie had always had money, you know, and they figured he's down on his luck for a minute. Then he got Mackie for $500. Right after that, he was gone. Into thin air. And then months and months, and the felt finally closed. The cover charge killed it. After that, guys went to Smokies. The place was a dump, but after the felt, there wasn't another place you could go that wasn't way out in the dingles. A couple more months, then one night, there's Stevie, strung like a dog. He didn't go back by the tables, just sat at the counter, sucking down coffee, his lips on his shoes. He's jungled up at this flop down the street, him and the rest of the skag monkeys there, dealing the 20s so he could stay well. One look, you know he didn't have long. Then one night Mackie came in and he saw him. Didn't say word one, just snatched Stevie up and dragged him back into the alley. He took all his shit and then kicked him into a coma. Real ugly man, Mackie could hurt you. Stevie was all in a heap. You'd have thought Mackie'd killed him. I got Stevie up and helped him back to his room. I couldn't just leave him, you know. Then I went back into Smokies and called for an aid car, and they came and got him. He never came back into Smokies again. 20 years later, I saw him at this Denny's in Renton. He weighed about 300 pounds. I couldn't believe it. I said, "How you doing?" I always liked him, you know. Turns out he's with his folks. He got off the smack and into the methadone line. The methadone blimped him. He wasn't out there dope sick and stealing, at least. We talked for a minute. It was all this and that, and pretty quick. There wasn't a whole lot to say. His rap was shrugs, mostly. He had this sort of a shit-eating grin. He was dressed off the dork rack at Thriftco, and after a while I said, "Well, hey, Stevie, I'll see you. Keep keeping on. It was good running into you, man," and all that. I felt kind of bad. I don't know, man. Shit happens, you know. Who would have thought? Dude used to be one of the fellas, you know, young kings and all that. And now, man, goddamn, he's been flatlined these past 20 years. 50 years old, at home with his folks, and looks like he's just going to flatline his way to the graveyard. Party time, man. Talk about over. And that's it.